Is the DJI FPV drone worth it? Well, I think it depends. Now, let's clear some things up before we begin. We are talking strictly about cinematography here. We are not talking about drone racing. We're talking strictly about digital FPV here. So we're comparing apples with apples. We're not comparing analog system with the DJI system. We're comparing digital only. And these are my opinions, so it's okay if those are different to yours. So I think you will fall into one of these two categories. Either you are a FPV hobbyist already and you have a lot of this gear already. You have controllers, you have goggles, you have batteries, you have quads, you have chargers, you have tools, you have all that stuff. I don't think that you should buy this drone. I don't think this drone is worth it. I don't think it's worth your money because you already have everything that you need to fly FPV, and you also probably already have real steady, and I think real steady is the game changer here. If you have all the investment already put in and you have real steady, there's no point. Don't buy the FPV drone. So you're either in that grouping or you're in the group that does not have FPV drones, you have normal drones, or you don't have any drones at all. Then I really think you need to consider buying the DJI FPV system if you're wanting to get into FPV. But before that, I think there are a couple things that you definitely need to consider before you go spending all of that money. And the first of those is, can you actually do it? Have you tried it? Now, what I mean by that is a lot of people get motion sickness from wearing the goggles. That sometimes goes away, but some people just can't get over it. Or some people just aren't coordinated enough to fly these drones unassisted by all the software that the DJI system will offer you. Now, what I suggest you do is before you buy anything, is go get yourself a cheap controller off of Amazon, go buy yourself a simulator that'll set you back altogether like $50, let's say, and then try for 2 weeks flying on the simulator. If you really love it, you're going to send back that controller. If you really hate it, you're also going to send back that controller. But this way you figured out whether or not you can actually fly, whether you actually like this hobby before you've gone and spent $1,300 at a very minimum. I've made a video on this, I'll link it down below, but that process of grabbing a cheap controller, practicing on the simulator, figuring out if you like it, and then sending it back is a must do in my opinion. Now the second point is cost. Now I actually think that this is actually a very good deal for everything that you get if you are in the second grouping of you don't have anything, because you're getting a drone, you're getting a controller, you're getting batteries, you're getting a charger, you're getting everything that you need to fly this quad. Now, I can make the argument that if you wanted an equivalent drone and build it yourself, equivalent flight times in total, you would have to buy quite a lot of batteries, and you would have to buy all the drone equipment, you would have to buy all of the parts, you would have to buy the chargers, you would have to buy the controllers, and all the stuff that goes along with it, just so that you can build and maintain your quad. Now, for that reason, I really think cost is a very good reason for you to consider getting this drone. I know it's $1,300, but things add up very quickly in the hobby world. Now, other things to consider is you probably need to make sure that you have in your budget the cost of DJI Care or DJI Refresh, whatever it's called. Have that in there because that's a cost that's associated with getting your quad. That's how you repair it. Now, one thing I think that the only reason you get this flying experience is one of it, but the second reason is footage. You want to capture and show footage. Now, the DJI system captures it with DJI software. Hobbyists typically capture it with GoPros. Now, those two things competing with each other, GoPro wins hands down because hobbyists have real steady, and they're not even comparable. To be honest with you, real steady wins 10 times out of 10. But what has been interesting is that what people have done now is figured out a way to mount the GoPros to the top of your DJI FPV drone. So if you're in this to get into cinematography and you want the best footage, you probably want to have this mod. But if you're just a normal person, the footage is going to look great. The 4K sensor on the DJI FPV drone is going to look absolutely amazing. And it's going to work for what you want it to work for. But the people that are doing production work are not going to be using this drone. They're going to still be putting a GoPro on the top because it just looks that much better. Let's talk about crashing. So you're going to crash 100%. Without a shadow of a doubt, you are going to crash, which means you need to consider what that means from a cost perspective, a downtime perspective, and incorporate that into your budget. We crash our quads all the time. Hobbyists crash their quads all the time. FPV drones crash all the time. Once you get onto manual mode on your DJI FPV drone, you need to be ready for a crash. And when you do crash, the chances are something is going to break. What we have in the hobby community is we'll crash and we'll fix. We'll also buy those parts. So we crash, we buy, we fix. What you'll do is you'll crash, you'll send it to them, they'll fix. DJI FPV pilots will need to pay for both of those. You'll need to pay for the cost of the repair, and you'll need to pay for the cost of the parts, either by DJI Care Refresh or via whatever repair service that you end up adopting. Now, in summary, I've been asked this a lot of people, is it worth it? And the answer is it really does depend. If you are a hobbyist and you have all the equipment, I don't think it's worth it. You have everything that you need to get currently what is the best footage and the best flying experience. If you don't have any quads and you want to get into FPV, the DJI FPV system, the drone is going to be the best way for you to get in, the most convenient way. All of DJI's gear is made to work. It just works straight out the box. It's intuitive, it's smart, it's clever. There are learning curves that you'll go through, and they have software to help you through that. And really, that's what it comes down to. As long as you've considered how much it's going to cost you up front, how much it's going to ongoingly cost you to keep it maintained and repaired if you do crash it, when you crash it, and if you're okay to having second grade footage. And if the footage thing is not an issue, then you can mount the GoPro on the top, because you probably already have a GoPro. But that's my answer. These are my opinions. I think the DJI FPV drone is really great. It's bigger, it's bulkier, but you don't have all that other stuff that you need to think about and buy. So I hope you guys found this useful. If anything, it answered some of my subscribers, followers, and friends' questions. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video.